92 million jobs are gone. Here's what the WEC report actually says. 92 million jobs. That is the number the World Economic Forum put in its Future of Jobs report. 92 million roles displaced by 2030. And if you saw that headline anywhere, on LinkedIn, in a news alert, in a tweet, that is probably where you stop reading. 92 million gone. But here is what the same report says on the very next line. 170 million new roles created by the same year. Net gain, 78 million jobs. So which number did the headlines run with? You already know the answer. And that gap between what the report actually says and what most people think it says is exactly the kind of thing worth spending 8 minutes on. Because the real story is not the number. The real story is what the number means, what it requires, and the 4 very different worlds we might be heading into depending on how the next 4 years unfold. Today we are going to go through all of it, the data, the scenarios, and what you should actually be thinking about right now if you care about where your work is going. Let's start with the report itself so you understand what you are actually looking at. The WEF Future of Jobs report is not speculation. It is not opinion journalism. It draws on the perspectives of over 1,000 leading global employers, collectively representing more than 14 million workers across 22 industry clusters and 55 economies. These are the people making hiring decisions right now, setting workforce strategy right now. Their answers shape what this report says. And what they say is this: by 2030, the labor market will have undergone its most significant structural transformation since the Industrial Revolution. Not because AI is replacing humans wholesale, but because AI is rapidly absorbing specific categories of work. And that absorption is forcing a reorganization of what humans are paid to do. The 5 fastest declining roles: postal service clerks, bank tellers, data entry clerks, cashiers, and administrative secretaries. Every single one of them defined by routine, predictable, high-volume task execution. The kind of work that AI handles first and handles well. The 5 fastest growing roles: AI and machine learning specialists, data analysts, big data specialists, fintech engineers, and cybersecurity experts. Every single one of them defined by the ability to work with, direct, or build the systems that are doing the replacing. This is the pattern, not replacement, reorganization, the execution layer going down, the strategic and technical layers going up. The question is whether the people in the declining roles can make that transition, and how fast. Now here is where it gets genuinely interesting, because the WEF does not just give you the data. It gives you 4 different futures, 4 scenarios for how this reorganization actually plays out by 2030, depending on 2 critical variables: how fast AI capabilities develop and how well workforces adapt. These scenarios are not predictions. They are maps of possibility. And understanding all 4 of them is more useful than committing to any one of them, because which world you end up in is partly a function of the choices you make right now. Here is the first scenario. They call it supercharged progress. In this world, AI development accelerates rapidly and the workforce keeps pace. Productivity explodes. New roles emerge faster than old ones disappear. Workers shift into higher value positions. The economy grows. The net job creation number comes true. This is the optimistic scenario, not naive optimism, but earned optimism, where the gains are real because the investment in people was real. The catch, even in this scenario, is that social safety nets, ethics frameworks, and governance structures lag behind the speed of the transformation. The economic gains are unevenly distributed. The people who benefit are the ones with access to reskilling, to new tools, to organizations that invested in their development. The people who do not have that access get left in an economy that has moved past them. Supercharged progress is the best case, but it is not a free lunch. The second scenario is called the age of displacement. In this world, AI development still accelerates rapidly, but the workforce does not keep pace. Reskilling takes longer than the transition requires. Organizations deploy automation faster than they develop the human capability to work alongside it. Talent shortages emerge not because there are not enough people, but because there are not enough people with the right skills for the roles that exist. Unemployment rises. Social division deepens. The 78 million net job number does not come true, not because the new roles do not exist, but because not enough people can access them. The jobs are there, the match is broken. This scenario is not science fiction. Research from 2025 already shows it beginning at the edges. Early career workers aged 22 to 25 in the most AI-exposed occupations have already experienced a 13% relative decline in employment since the release of ChatGPT. Senior workers in those same occupations, stable or growing. The displacement is not theoretical. It is arriving at the bottom of the career ladder first, which is exactly where the age of displacement scenario predicts it would. The third scenario the WEF outlines is the one I find most interesting. They call it the co-pilot economy. In this world, AI development is incremental rather than exponential. The dramatic breakthroughs do not arrive on the timeline the optimists predicted. AI enhances human expertise rather than replacing it. The transition is gradual. Businesses transform slowly. The disruption is real but manageable. This is the scenario where the metaphor of the co-pilot is most literal. AI sits alongside human judgment, augmenting it, handling the execution layer, freeing humans for the parts of the work that require genuine reasoning and decision-making. The pace of change allows institutions, education systems, regulatory frameworks, labor markets to adapt without being overwhelmed. Gunter Beitinger, the SVP of manufacturing at Siemens, put it clearly in a WEF report earlier this year. The decisive advantage will not come from automation alone, but from redesigning end-to-end workflows around human and AI collaboration. The primary risk is organizational inertia and insufficient reskilling. The opportunity lies in building organizations where human judgment and creativity are amplified by AI. The fourth scenario I would call the fractured transition. In this world, the impact of AI is deeply uneven, not just across skill levels, but across geographies, industries, and company sizes. Some sectors and regions experience something close to supercharged progress. Others experience something close to the age of displacement. The global average looks fine, but averages hide enormous variation. Large technology companies and well-resourced multinationals build AI-first operating models and pull dramatically ahead. Smaller organizations, emerging markets, and labor-intensive industries struggle to access the tools, the talent, and the capital needed to make the transition. The result is not a uniform future of work. It is a fragmented one, where your outcome depends less on your individual capability than on which sector you are in, which geography you inhabit, and which organization you work for. The WEF data already hints at this. Job growth from the transition is not evenly distributed across regions. The fractured transition may not be a scenario we end up in. It may be the scenario we are already in. So which world are we heading into? That is not a question I am going to answer for you. And I would be suspicious of anyone who claims they can. The four scenarios exist precisely because the outcome is genuinely uncertain, because it depends on decisions that have not been made yet by institutions, organizations, and individuals, including you. What I will tell you is what the research says about the variable that matters most across all four scenarios. The one factor that the WEF, McKinsey, and every credible research body consistently identifies as the difference between the good outcomes and the bad ones. It is not AI capability. It is not job creation. It is the speed and quality of human adaptation. Suleja Koloru, the chief strategy officer at Pearson, said it directly in a WEF piece this year. The sustained productivity benefits will come through people's ability to harness the technology effectively. This will only be achieved by addressing the learning gap between what AI tools can do and how well workforces can use them. The most successful organizations will invest in building human capabilities, critical thinking, creativity, discernment, alongside AI fluency. And McKinsey's State of Organizations report for 2026 makes the investment case explicit. For every dollar spent on AI technology, organizations should invest $5 in people. 5 to 1. The technology is the smaller part of the equation. The human transformation is the larger one. Here is the implication that most people are not drawing from this data. The 92 million jobs that are going, most of them are going regardless of which scenario unfolds. The difference between the scenarios is not whether that displacement happens. It is what rises in its place and whether the people whose jobs are displaced can access what comes next. The WEF identifies the skills that grow in value across all four scenarios: analytical thinking, creative thinking, technological literacy, resilience, and flexibility. The ability to learn, not once, but continuously. These are not the skills that were most rewarded in the economy of the last 30 years, but they are the skills that the next 10 years are going to price aggressively. 78 million net new jobs is a real number, but it does not arrive automatically. It arrives as the output of millions of individual and institutional decisions made between now and 2030. About what to learn, about how to structure organizations, about where to invest, about which skills to develop and which to let AI absorb. The four scenarios are not equally likely to apply to everyone. Your scenario depends on your industry, your organization, your geography, and your own willingness to move toward the work that rises rather than defending the work that is going. That is the real story behind the 92 million number. Not fear, not optimism, a very specific set of choices with a very specific window to make them. Subscribe and drop a comment below. Which of the four scenarios do you think we are actually heading into? I am genuinely curious where you land. I will see you in the next one.